Welcome back to the show. Dana and I are no longer, well, I'll say for myself, I'm no longer sneezing. I think I've crested the hill, Dana.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sneezing, but I do feel a little bit of a sinus headache from all the allergies.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's stuff I can do about that. How's that for a
That
segue?
there nice segues. Nice segue. Dana and I were, just off camera as we usually do. We're just talking about the real need to advocate in the medical
hmm
for
hmm
medical care.
Yeah.
Any kind of care for that matter, but that
hmm
the degree of care that you get is very, very dependent on your knowledge and advocacy. Um,
Yeah. And the
it's just exhausting.
physician or treatment
Yeah,
provider, because some don't
yeah,
want you to do your own research. But I find the younger they are, the more they appreciate you doing research and coming in focused and saying, yes, you're the doctor, but I wonder about X, Y, and Z. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 I was just sharing with Dana that I was really dissatisfied with some dental care that I got. And I
Mhm.
just have one of those mouths, I guess, that even though with
Mhm.
really excellent oral hygiene, um, I'm really
Genetics or
susceptible
yeah.
to gum situations. And so I'm discovering this because of course I'm getting older.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, it was Dana, really, I was talking to Dana, really complaining and offloading to Dana about it. And Dana's like, "Oh, like you need to use a water pick for that." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then it just led me down a rabbit hole,
Ooh.
of treatments for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was not upset, but I was irritated that my dentist,
Mhm.
like, I asked specifically, what
Yeah.
more can I do? I mean, I've been doing X, Y, and Z every night consistently. And
Yeah.
I'm so consistent because I'm so terrified of the dentist. Like, I don't like
Oh.
dental treatments and things.
Oh. Oh. Uh-huh.
Um, and he was like, nothing. You just come back every 4 months for a deep clean. And it's like, and then I do all this
Mhm.
other, like, I talked to Dana, which led me to other research. And I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
there's actually lots of
Yeah.
other really
Yeah.
preventative things I can do. But anyway, it just brought us to
I like that too, though. I mean, with the advent of the internet, right? I mean, there's
yeah.
dangers of that, like the whole conspiracy theory of Tylenol causing autism. But there are a lot of forums and lots of research, both in the hardcore scientific literature and in the, I'll call it self-help, and I'm putting that in quotes for those that can't see, because that could go all the way too far the other way, and you're into weird, strange. I don't need to get treatment for my cancer because I can cure it by eating spinach every day. That
Mhm.
sort of thing. Somewhere in
Yeah.
the middle, though, we've talked a lot about locus of control on this show, and also ways that you can be in the driver's seat to help with various things. And your health is certainly one of those things, right? So if you have a doctor who either isn't doing the latest, or if you go and say to a dentist, geez, I found out from a friend that her dentist, she has gum stuff too, and her dentist says, water pick, and it's been a game changer for me in terms of progression, which is awesome. If they're defensive or they don't want to talk to it's okay for you to find somebody else. There are. I think the zeitgeist is changing with accessibility to things online. We've talked about it even with autism. When I have people come to me for assessment, and they sort of sheepishly say they've done a bunch of research and they've written things down, I'm like, yeah, give me that. I want to know what you've resonated with. And we are holistic beings, and Western medicine things, sort of protocol of what your doctor will prescribe, isn't necessarily the end all be all, right? So, for example, like my hand doctor knows I have EDS, and it feels really more collaborative, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll go in and I'll say, I think this is going on, I'm having pain, whatever, and he'll ask some questions. And then he also lets me ask further questions, like the one joint on here has been repaired and is starting to fail a little bit. we've been talking about that. And I said, should we? He said, probably we're going to have to redo it, but let's try some things just to see if it helps. And then, insurance wants you to try stuff. So I can say, oh, okay, maybe we can do the cortisone shot. And I can ask questions about what I would expect for that and so on. And he's great about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
My primary care doc, same thing. It's more collaborative. And I can even go in and say, I'm wondering about this other thing. What do you think? And she doesn't shut me down right away. She'll say something like, well, that would be atypical, but of course we know it's you. So it could be a thing, after a while, your providers get to know you. But if it really is more of this colonized, male dominated experience when you're going into medicine, which we know that's our roots of medicine here, that's a red flag to me. So even if you are doing things that are in your wheelhouse, that we've talked about the idea of allostatic load, and I use that bucket idea, like your bucket's always full. Finding things that you can do that help lower the level of water in your bucket, right? So for
Yeah.
a while, when I was having a lot of wrist pain before I figured out what it was, sleeping with splints, because I have a tendency to go to sleep like this. That doesn't help, right? So sleeping with splints was great. I didn't have to do it every night, but if I laid in bed and I'm like, oh, my right wrist is keeping me awake, and that used to frustrate the hell out of me. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't get the right position. It wouldn't stop. And now I can put what's a carpal tunnel splint on that the doctor's given me. And it's just enough to keep it still enough for long enough that the pain stops, the nerves stop firing. So having those things that that are in your wheelhouse that you can do that bring that water level lower, then from day to day, you're able to tolerate things a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
And continue seeking that. So I'll tell the story to my students a lot. When I was in graduate school, I had an almost 3-year headache, meaning I had that headache every damn day. I went to my regular doctor that couldn't figure it out, and I spent a lot of time in a neurologist's office trying to figure it out. And then finally, when they got to the point where they said, there's nothing left for us to try, they said, well, you do kind of have stuffy nose. Let's just send you to the ENT guy and make sure there isn't something there. They do a CAT scan, and I have so much scar tissue pressing on everything from all my years of untreated allergies. Um, and I had a major sinus surgery, and the headaches stopped completely. Now that I moved out here, and then I started to have a little bit of a recurrence, went to an ENT, and that guy said, oh yeah, the reconfiguring they did, all the scar tissue is great. You had a little bit of regrowth, not as big of a surgery, and it went away. And then I did have to have a third one. And I did a lot of questioning because I'm like, I thought that the surgeries were supposed to stop this, etc. And he'd said, as long as things are still inflamed and it's sort of where your lot in life, we may have to just do some tuning up once in a while. And then it's also why I do the flushing twice a day, every day, those things that I can do that can help it.
Mm-hmm.
And then knock on wood, I haven't had, daily headaches in eons. But asking doctors beyond just them saying, oh, we think you have to have surgery. Ask them why, understand what's behind
Yeah.
it so that it's great to understand it, it's your body. And then also maybe there are things that you can do that help that, right? That manage that better. You were mentioning this new technology that I can't wait to research now about red lights and pain.
Yeah.
That probably wasn't a thing that was accessible to folks 4 or 5 years ago. And so as we're
Yeah.
learning things and then those devices get more affordable,
Yep.
those are great things to be able to do. Icing, I have degenerative disc disease, and ice works better than anything. And so I have all kinds of different sizes and types of ice packs.
Yep.
And I can take medication for it, but I don't want to load up with a bunch of ibuprofen all the time. So it's nice to have ice to do that. Things like if we're going to go on a really long car ride or a trip, I will put the ice pack on at the beginning of the trip, even just sitting in a car that long. So you slowly learn these tricks that work for you, find ways to make a difference, and then also become more aware of the nuance of what's going on so you can be more collaborative with your doctor as well, right? Or your
Yeah.
providers, whoever those are. Yeah.
And don't be afraid to question a
Hmm.
provider.
Hmm.
That's like I will say I struggle with that because I'm such a rule follower,
Oh, it's so
authority,
hard. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like I bow to authority.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, clearly how I grew up and
Well, in this
my own
culture
history.
that
Yeah,
the yeah, I have
for
a
sure.
routine recheck-in with my neurologist today, and I found myself being nervous yesterday, and I'm like, oh, there it is.
Me
There
too.
it is.
I have
Yeah.
a thing where I'm advocating for something today with my doctor, and I'm nervous, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
nervous about it. Like, this is,
Hmm.
it's ridiculous actually to
Yeah.
feel like, wow, like, why am I nervous about this? And
Yeah.
clearly, like, this is a me situation in the context of
Hmm.
our society and growing. So this is not this is not a situation where
Isolated.
it's like
Yeah.
isolated, right?
I
And
have
I
found
do,
using the
yeah,
language of I am frustrated, not
yes.
at them, but I'm frustrated by the
It's an I
situation because
statement.
I feel
Yeah,
like I really feel like I want to explore this more or try this or whatever it is. So you're saying to your doctor that you're struggling with the struggle, right?
yeah,
Rather than just saying, no, I need to try this other thing. But you say, I really am wanting to talk to you about this, see if it's an option. I'd really like to try it.
yeah,
And it's taken a long time to find that language. And then if you're with a doctor who's like hurrying up, it goes back to that old, oh my God, they're going to be mad at me. And then, it's just it's a cluster F. I won't
yeah.
say the word, so you don't have to edit. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I write down my questions or how I would like to
Yeah.
advocate.
Yes.
I will write that down just because I feel like
Hmm.
that helps me
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
moment. Not only kind of prepare, but in the moment to give me something to rely on.
Yeah.
But you do find all the ways in which life works better for you. And I love that
Hmm.
coming back to locus, like come back to the locus of
Yeah.
control,
Yeah.
right? Which, if you don't know what the locus of control is, it's basically like, how do you feel like you have any kind of power to influence your
Hmm.
life?
Hmm.
Where do you stand? I mean, some people do this in little ways, but it doesn't matter actually.
Hmm.
Whatever
Hmm.
way in which you feel like you can control something that feels not in your control, or it feels out of
Yeah.
control,
Yeah.
um feeling a locus of feeling like you have the ability to impact your
Hmm.
life with your own actions
Yeah.
is critical
Hmm.
to your mental health.
And there's so
um
many different parts of your life that's important and that
yeah,
are hard. I'm thinking of like at
yeah,
school with your teachers might be
yeah,
harder. Maybe in your primary relationship or with your family, it might be hard.
yeah,
Doctors is hard. So there's areas that you can predict. And sometimes just saying, this is really hard for me,
yeah,
but blah, 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 right? And I find in my 60 some years of life, I've
yeah,
learned a few things along the way.
yeah,
I have found that if you start a conversation with anybody saying, this is really hard for me, but I need you to sort of stick with me while I try to get this out, and I'm nervous. Most people, when you say that, are like, oh, yeah,
yeah,
all right, I'm here. I'm here. It gets their attention enough, and it draws them, want to draw them into some empathy around that. You're always going to have the occasional jerk who's going to be like, blah, and not listen to you anyway. But most humans are going to say, oh, okay, you want my attention for this, and you're suffering, and you'd like some help.
yeah,
And it may be hard to get it out, and you may have to keep talking about it because you're nervous until you get to the point. But if you preface it with that, people will mostly come through for you, which is great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So sorry, more advocacy burden.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In long-term planning, when I'm helping families with long-term planning, one of the things that I say is like, try to reduce the number of times that person has to advocate.
Hmm.
Because the more that has to happen, like the less it happens.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how do we just kind of know what their triggers are, or
Yeah.
how they're thriving, and really just make that part of the system so that
Yeah.
when the advocacy happens, it has to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but that's just so interesting. Like I find like that's so interesting. But
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're here to tell you, in any way possible,
Yes.
um, learn, educate yourself, advocate
Hmm.
for what it is you need in the way that you
Hmm.
can. And we feel ya.
Yeah.
We feel you.
The younger you are, the harder it is, and the more first time-ishness it is, the harder it is.
Yeah.
But keep at it, and
Yeah.
it does get better. Yeah,
Absolutely. All
yeah.
right. Well, all right, everyone. Be good to you, be good to others, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.